Sean Smith, Jackson County Legislator. He's also going to be running for Congress, is running for Congress against Emmanuel Cleaver. He joins us on KCMO Talk Radio. So, Sean, I know you were a yes vote on the initial proposal to get this thing on the ballot. But now that Frank White has vetoed this, where are you at? Will you vote to override his veto, or will you say, no, I think he might be onto something here?
Yeah. Thanks, Pete. So I will uphold the veto unless the teams go ahead and sign a letter of intent or memorandum of understanding, something that's documented that covers the major concessions that they've already made and a couple more that are reasonable that the county has asked for. So, by voting yes on January 8th, that gave the teams and Frank more time to get the details hammered out. And I always specified to the teams and to the county, these details have to be documented in writing, signatures, right? Not the lease agreements, not every single detail is going to be done, but that the big rocks need to be documented, memorialized, signed. And by voting yes, I was giving us more time. Mm-hmm. Monday is the last shot. If they're not ready by then we can't put this on the ballot in April.
I don't blame you for that. I mean, listen, I sit here and I've been as critical as anybody with a microphone in this town of County Commissioner or County Chairman Frank White. But when I read his letter yesterday, I'm like, he's not wrong to say to the teams, can you tell us what you want to do with our money before you ask the taxpayer to vote on it? And it sounds like what you're saying to me.
That's exactly right. And to be clear, Pete, after Monday, if this thing's going on to the ballot, and those details aren't hammered out and aren't really, agreed to in writing, then we're really up against organizations that have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets. So people thinking that the voters will understand, if the details aren't hammered out and the voters can vote no, that is true. And I think there's going to be a lot of resistance to this. So it's not going to be easy for the teams to push this over the goal line. But the fact is, with their budgets, I don't know that the message of whether the deal is ready or not would get through to the voters. So it's really on us to be a stopgap.
Okay, so, I'm amazed that we're still sitting here at this point in the process, and the Royals can't even tell the public, or you, it sounds like, as a Jackson County legislator, where the heck they want to be. Am I missing something here, Sean Smith?
You're not. They, have publicly stated that they're down to 2 locations. Those 2 locations are even specified in the ordinance that we passed. But the fact of the matter is that they need to be able to really share some of that information with the public. I don't necessarily need that by Monday, but things like, the demolition cost of the existing stadium if they do choose to move. Things like whether or not the Chiefs are going to just use Arrowhead Stadium or if they're going to retain that facility as it has been for years as their corporate headquarters and a place for them to practice. Those kinds of commitments are critical to our community, and we can't just leave those things up in the air and trust that they'll work out.
Mm-hmm. Sean Smith is on KCMO, Jackson County Legislator, and he's running for Congress against Emmanuel Cleaver as well. So this veto comes down from Frank White yesterday. You're basically saying unless the teams clear things up in the next couple of days, you will not vote to override this veto. There's 9 of you. 6 would need to override the veto. And right now, there's at least, I would imagine, 2 of you, yourself and Megan Marshall, who would not override the veto unless things change dramatically in the next 48 hours or so. Do you see any way that this veto does get overridden?
Yeah. If the teams saddle up to the bar and go ahead and, sign something that says exactly what they're going to do, then I think even the county executive would be okay with us overriding his veto. Again, this has been discussed internally to make sure that the teams have every opportunity to get on the April ballot if they're willing to commit to acceptable terms. It's just that simple. And actually, there are 4 of us. So there was a joint statement put out by Megan Marshall, Jeannie Lauer, our chair, and Jalen Anderson. So that's 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans who've said, we'll allow this veto to hold if the teams don't come and execute something that's, a firm commitment. So
what's the incentive, you think, of some of those folks who just want to override the veto without having any of these details?
I think there's a variety. It's a, diverse group. Some, I think, are hearing from constituents like organized labor and whatnot who really want this thing to go through and want it to go through rapidly. Some, I think, are truly concerned that the teams might leave if they don't get in on an April ballot. I happen to think that while the teams might start to shop around a little bit if they're not on an April ballot, I think that, a month or 4-month delay to an August ballot or even a November ballot wouldn't necessarily, be driving the teams out of our community.
Shop around to other counties in the region or to other cities in the country?
Either one, right? If this doesn't go, sure, they could shop, but I'll stroll down the street and look at things, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm really trying to go home with a new toy, right? So I wouldn't blame them for looking. That's a pressure tactic, or it's real. I mean, they are a business. They have to make decisions that are best for their enterprise. But at the end of the day, I think they're invested in the community, and I don't think a 4-month delay is fatal. So, but again, I don't even think that's going to come to that. I really think that we're very close, and I think the teams will probably go ahead and execute something that's acceptable to us.
All right. Well, the first thing would be nice to know where they want to go, that being the Royals.
Amen.
Sean Smith is a Jackson County legislator. He is also running for Congress against Emanuel Cleaver this year. So, Sean, thank you for the time. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Pete.
All right. There you go. He's not as concerned, it seems like, as maybe some other people are.